You've probably heard someone compare a struggling company, a messy government, or even a bad relationship to the fall of Rome. It's shorthand for slow, dramatic collapse. But the real answer is far stranger. Rome wasn't just brought down by invaders at the gate. Part of it was brought down by something running quietly through its water pipes for centuries. Here's the story you were never told in school. Rome built its empire on engineering, roads, aqueducts, plumbing so advanced that some of it still works today. And that plumbing was made almost entirely out of lead. Lead pipes carried drinking water into homes. Lead was used to sweeten wine. Lead dust settled into food, air, and soil across the empire for generations. What could possibly go wrong with an empire drinking out of the most toxic metal available to it? Researchers studying ice cores in Greenland found something remarkable buried in the ancient ice. Layers of atmospheric lead pollution, dating precisely to the height of Roman silver and lead mining, spiked dramatically during the empire's most prosperous centuries. The historian Harper, who studies the fall of Rome through climate and disease data rather than just battles and emperors, has argued that chronic low-level lead exposure may have quietly damaged fertility, cognition, and health across the Roman elite for generations. Not enough to kill quickly, just enough to slowly dull an empire from the inside. Which raises an obvious question. If lead alone didn't finish Rome off, what did? This is where the story gets almost absurd. Around the same era, tree ring and ice core evidence studied by climate historians reveals a series of volcanic eruptions violent enough to darken skies and cool the climate across the Mediterranean for years at a time. Crops failed, grain shortages spread, and into that weakened, half-starved empire arrived a wave of plague, one so severe that some regions may have lost a third of their population within a few short years. Picture that combination for a moment. An empire slowly poisoned by its own plumbing, its climate abruptly turned against it. Then disease arriving right when the population was least equipped to survive it. Barbarian invasions, the version of the story everyone learns, weren't the opening act. They were the final push against a structure that had already been rotting from 3 directions at once. Here's the twist that should genuinely unsettle you. Rome's own engineers thought lead was safe. Its own senators thought grain shortages were temporary. Its own physicians had no framework for understanding a virus. Every single failure looked at the time like a manageable problem. Nobody inside the empire believed they were living through a collapse. They believed they were living through a difficult year. That's the pattern worth sitting with. Collapse rarely announces itself. It rarely shows up as a single dramatic event that everyone recognizes in the moment. It shows up as pipes nobody thinks to question, a bad harvest nobody expects to repeat, a fever nobody has a name for yet. By the time all 3 collide, historians spend the next 2,000 years arguing about which one really caused the fall. So next time you hear someone toss around the fall of Rome as a punchline for modern dysfunction, remember what actually happened. It wasn't one dramatic villain at the gates. It was ordinary infrastructure, ordinary weather, and an ordinary illness, all quietly working against an empire that never saw the whole picture at once. Rome didn't fall because it stopped being powerful. It fell because it never noticed how many small, invisible things were working against it, all at the same time. And maybe that's the part of the story worth remembering the next time everything around you feels fine, right up until it doesn't.